So Kingdom Hearts 3 has been out for almost 2 months now. And boy, does that sound kinda weird to say. After what seems like forever, and many different games and remakes and remasters, it's finally here. So let's drop right into my review of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Now to mark the beginning of a new journey.
Story. Normally, I do not do any spoilers in my reviews. And this is relatively true with this game as well, but it can be hard to talk about the story without at least minor spoils. So be warned, here's a timestamp to skip to. Now, I'm not going to go into a deep summary of the story. There is a lot of videos that do that, and they probably understand it way better than I do. I do not really understand what is going on completely, but what you need to know is that people wearing cloaks and have dark hair are bad, and you were looking for 2 other people and a lack of power by going to Disney World for some reason. And apparently there's also a box, but that doesn't get solved. I don't really think the Disney Worlds really matter. Most of them are the Disney 3D animations or the Pixar movies. Now most of them do have good reasons for Organization 13 for being there, but no real reason for Sora. About half the worlds are summarized versions of their movies, and the other half are brand new stories. Now I didn't really enjoy many of the stories. I hate Frozen's Arendelle and a snooze fest of San Francisco. Toy Box was kind of disappointing to me. I really liked the Caribbean, although it was just at World's End. The best unique story here is Monstropolis. I feel like that world in particular was just perfect in the story, and it's only one with the Unversed, which makes perfect sense. The villain, aka Randall, has an actual motive. The organization member in it makes sense, and it kind of has a funny ending. It's also paced extremely well, almost like a Kingdom Hearts 1 map. Who would have thought that the place with doors to other worlds would be the one that's good, huh? But I have a lot of issues about the worlds. The pacing just isn't good. They take about 2.5 hours each, except for 100 Acre Woods, which really shouldn't even be in the game. They do nothing for the main plot. They're just stopgaps for the main story. And you spend so much time in them, unlike previous games where you're just kind of in for a half hour, story element happens. You're gonna go back for another half hour, more story element happens. That was good pacing. This is not good pacing. This is being in a world way too long, getting bored of the world, sticking through it, grinding through it, done, next world. And the main story, well, it's very emotional. Tears ran down my face. I don't really think it wraps itself up too well. And all the Final Fantasy characters are missing, and all those Final Fantasy character arcs are just not here. A part of me wants to say it's underwhelming. Maybe because it's very complicated and literally nobody understands this. But it's also very emotional, so it obviously did something right. Presentation. Graphically, this is one of the best games I've ever seen. There's effects everywhere, fluid movement. We've reached a point technically where the old FMVs are now equal to the gameplay. There was cutscene in this game that the YouTube's bot thought it was an actual movie. A few worlds have their own art style. The Caribbean is lifelike. It is the most realistic fake Jack Sparrow ever. I liked 100 Acre Woods art style for about the 10 minutes I was there. And I love the design of Monstropolis. I do wish Halloween Town returned though. That world was just amazing in particular. The game also just has amazing sound. Music is great, the sound effects are amazing. But the most amazing thing is how seamless and alive and massive these worlds are. There isn't very many loading screens, although there are a few that can be pretty long and show off a weird Instagram page-like thing. Most of the time you go from one place to the other with absolutely no loading. Once again, my favorite world for this is the Caribbean. Which I kind of said kind of weird, and I'm not editing that out. I can't speak at all, can I? You can go from the fort, interact with some of the civilians on the port, go to the top of your ship, dive down below under the water to look for treasure. And there is a wide ocean to explore. And most of this is just seamless. Now there is a bit of a loading screen when you get into the ship battle kind of section. And admittedly, the underwater section is kind of sucky. But God, it is so much fun to just be able to do something like that. Jump from the top of a boat to go underwater. Man, that is crazy. Gameplay. For the most part, the gameplay is kind of a greatest hits mix of all the other games. Drive forms from KH2 and Birth by Sleep's command system? It's kind of mixed. Don't remember what it's called. Well, that kind of changes based on what your Keyblade is. In your Keyblade, you can actually level up and improve now. Shot lock is back, flow motion is here, although it's not very important. You can now have up to 4 people in your party, so you no longer need to swap out Donald or Goofy. And all of them have their own attacks that they can do by pressing the triangle or Y button. You can use an attack that is flashy and just sort of cool to look at. There's also Disney World attractions that you can occasionally use. While it's all really cool to look at, it does make this game super easy. Like, incredibly easy. There's a couple mini games in the worlds to break up the easy gameplay, but there's nothing too special. You can also screenshot emblems in the worlds and collect ingredients for little chef's cooking skills. And make the game even easier, there's also like no endgame. There is one secret boss that isn't very special, and that's about it. I hope for future DLC they add more endgame bosses, maybe a Final Fantasy world so we can have like Sephiroth again. How can you have a Kingdom Hearts game without the legendary Sephiroth battle? Or a tournament in the Coliseum? God, this game is just begging for DLC, man. And I hope they don't abuse it, but my God, it needs it. It truly does need the DLC. Overall, this is still a solid, good game, but it's not as good as it could be. I will not say that it's overall underwhelming, but maybe I'd call it whelming. I am going to give Kingdom Hearts 3 a 7.6 out of 10. The story, while complicated, is emotional when it is actually doing stuff that matters. It looks amazing, sounds amazing, and is an absolute cakewalk with nothing to do once you beat it. I'm sure they will do a final mix in a few months that will address all these issues. But I guess that is the end of this review, so I guess I'll see you in 16 years for Kingdom Hearts 4.